Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Chiropractor. Today on Ask the Chiropractor, we're going to kind of dive into an interesting topic. I call this something we've discovered in our patients that started back in March 2020. I'd like to do a presentation on something that I don't want to get censored, so I thought maybe that would be a clever way to titling it, something that started in March of 2020. I think we all know what started back then. So it's been real interesting to me that we have found a unique clinical finding. And I recently went to we here in Rockford, Illinois area, the chiropractors, we all get together once a month and talk about things that we see in patients and things we deal with, with other companies and in our political area here, just in our local community. And they all agree with my finding. I asked everybody if they've been finding the same finding. And then this weekend, I was able to go to the state conference here in Illinois. So we had our big state conference with lots and lots of chiropractors from all over the state. And I asked everybody else the same question. They found the exact same clinical finding. And a lot of them said yes. Almost all of them said yes. And what is that clinical finding? Well, the clinical finding is, as chiropractors, we adjust your necks most of the time. So when we lay you down to adjust your neck, we want to feel the bones in your neck. We want to see what's going on with those bones. And we use our fingers and we go up and down your neck to try to feel tight muscles in areas that need chiropractic care. Well, in the process of doing that at the exact same time, we feel lymph nodes. Now, lymph nodes go right along your vertebrae, and we can feel these lymph nodes. And what does lymph do? Well, lymph is kind of like your drainage system. So you get stuff in your head and your jaw and your mouth, and it builds up, and your body wants to get rid of this yuckiness. So what it does is it drains it through your lymphatic flow. And those go right down your neck and to the armpit, to the chest, and into the kidneys and get filtered out and removed from the body. And we find a lot of times that when people have ear infections or when people have sinus issues, we can feel their small lymph nodes. Well, what's been interesting for me that I have found is that a lot of people are having really bad small lymph nodes. I've even seen a couple of PubMed studies that show like herpes zoster is on the rise. That's like cold sores and stuff like that. And it says there's a correlation between that and small lymph nodes. Fox News recently did a study that don't be surprised if after your COVID vaccine, you've got swollen lymph nodes. Don't worry about it. So for me, I like to do a lot of my own research, a lot of my own studies. So when I go to adjust a patient and I feel the swollen lymph nodes, I've asked them if they've had their vaccine or not. And it's not always 100% yes. A lot of them say no, and they still have the swollen lymph nodes. So we really can't blame it on the vaccine. The other thing I ask people is, have you had COVID or not? Do you know if you've been sick with COVID? And they said, well, to my knowledge, I haven't. Or some of them say, yeah, I just did my 2-week quarantine and now I'm out. So there's no real correlation between whether or not they've had COVID or not COVID to have this clinical finding. So when you kind of like rule out those things, is it the vaccine? Is it not the vaccine? Is it having COVID, not having the COVID? Then you kind of start asking yourself, okay, so what else is causing these swollen lymph nodes? If it's not that, you have to start eliminating variables. And the only variable that I can come up with is the idea that not because of COVID, but we're all wearing masks in Illinois. We're all having to clean everything, wipe everything down, 100 times more than we used to. And I just kind of question whether or not the overall immune system stayed strong, whether or not the overall immune system's having a harder time. And the reason I bring that up is because we have to practice. You always need practice to stay strong and healthy. If you're a basketball team and you never practice, you go out there, you play basketball against other teams, you probably don't do very good. You probably get humiliated a lot. And so our immune system has to practice. And a lot of times what we practice on some of those weak viruses, those weak bacteria and stuff like that, that's the ones we like to beat up and bully on, right? And get our warm up and our practice in. And when we're doing these things that we're doing to as the governors has told us, to stay safe from COVID, sometimes I wonder about some of the side effects of that. And that might be for small lymph nodes. So if you're experiencing like lots of pressure in your ears or popping in your ears, or maybe, like excessive sinus problems, these are usually indicators that there's something going on with your lymphatic system. So a lot of times the old remedy, is to put a warm compress right along your lymphatic system flow. It'd be like from your ears to your collarbone, try to open that up a little bit. But if this is an ongoing problem that you're experiencing and that you're finding that you yourself have, come and talk to the chiropractor. Come ask us what's going on. See if we have any tips or things like suggestions for you to help that lymphatic flow system. So again, this is not a video that's pro-mask, anti-mask, pro-vaccine, or anti-vaccine. This is just a clinical finding that we found in just about everybody having these swollen lymph nodes. And I just hope that everyone's immune system can stay strong as possible at the end of the day, remember, it's never a medicine that defeats a virus or a bacteria. It's always your immune system. If you have a bacterial infection, you take an antibiotic. That antibiotic binds to that bacteria, slows it down, quote unquote, retards it. So that way your white blood cells can overwhelm it and destroy it. So it's always you're always your immune system that finally does the job. With medicine's help or without medicine's help, it's always the immune system's job. You want to keep that immune system really, really strong. So again, if you're finding out that if you go at this, sometimes it's hard to feel in other people. I know I have a 19-inch neck and I can feel mine very easily. But some people, we find this a lot in. So if you're experiencing really bad vertigo all of a sudden, you're experiencing really congested sinuses and issues like that, that's more than a trip to your chiropractor. Talk to your chiropractor about that. There might be something the chiropractor can help you with that. Other than that, thanks for tuning in this week for another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. We'll be right back here next week. If you have a question that you'd like to get answered by Ask the Chiropractor, feel free to reach out to us at rockforddc.com. Contact us and ask us a question. Call the office, stop in, or just go ahead and leave a comment below wherever you might be watching and listening to this. Other than that, have a great day. Keep smiling, and we'll talk to you real soon.